Hi, my name is Cale Bunce. For my presentation, I am doing the Declaration of Independence. Our class is Intro to American Government, and our professor is Kurt Troutman. What led to the Declaration of Independence? The 13 colonies were ruled by Great Britain after defeating France in the French and Indian War in 1763. Britain began imposing new taxes for expenses during the war. This angered the colonists very much. Colonists rebelled against them, which led to violence. 5 people were killed in the Boston Massacre, which is when the colonists were provoking the British and ended up leading to a shooting. In December 1773, in the protest, colonists disguised as Indians boarded ships and dumped millions of dollars worth of tea into the Boston harbor. This tea was from the British East India Company. Colonists knew war was coming with Britain. Loyalists. Loyalists were American colonists who stayed loyal to the British Crown, even during the war. Often referred to as Tories, Royalists, or Kingsmen at the time. Prominent Loyalists repeatedly assured the British government that many thousands of them would spring into arms and fight for the Crown for the British. At this time, Loyalists were about 20% of the American population. What was the purpose of the Declaration? This was designed to give colonists a voice after being ruled by a king for so long. The Founding Fathers wanted to have a government that had checks and balances, where one party did not have too much power and be turned into where there's a king ruling again. The Founding Fathers had said all men are created equal and shall have the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. This phrase came from John Locke when he incorporated it into his famous statement of an inalienable pursuit to the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. War. The war that happened between Great Britain and America lasted for over 1 year when the document was signed. The reason for the American Revolutionary War, which was after this, was because of the Stamp Act, and the Americans decided that it was unconstitutional of the British to do this. This war lasted 8 years and 137 days. Who wrote the Declaration? We now credit Thomas Jefferson with the Declaration's authorship, but that is not fully true. The document was drafted by a committee made up of 5 people: John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. Jefferson also had said that he could not give all the credit to just them, but also to give credit to John Locke and Charles Montesquieu. The reason for Jefferson to take credit for this is because he had so much of a majority of the work put in one of his articles. About the signing. Many members of the Continental Congress to sign an engrossed version of the Declaration on August 2nd, 1776. John Hancock's signature was in the middle. This is because of his status as President of the Congress. Historian Herbert Frenwald explained during the signing that out of 56 delegates, only 45 of them would have been there to be able to sign on that particular day. More about the signees. Benjamin Franklin was the oldest to sign the Declaration of Independence, and he was 70 years old at that. Two of the younger people to sign were Thomas Lynch and Edward Rutledge, at the age of 26 years old. In these pictures, from left to right, you have Thomas Lynch, Edward Rutledge, and Benjamin Franklin. The process. On June 7th, 1776, Richard Henry Lee, a delegate of Congress from Virginia, said that these states shall be independent and free. Congress declared freedom from Great Britain on July 2nd, 1776, when approved in an unanimous vote. After being approved, the group needed to draft a document explaining the move to the public. The actual document was approved on July 4th, then was sent to a printer. This printer's name was John Dunlap. This is when he printed off 200 copies. Today, only 26 copies remain. More about the document. The original sheet of parchment measured 24 1/4 inch by 29 3/4 inches. Also, George Washington ordered the Declaration of Independence to be read by an American army in New York before it was first printed. When the document was signed, the population was estimated to be about 2.5 million in America, which is crazy to think that now we have over 331 million people. We the people. In order to form a more perfect union, the Constitution created to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and posterity. What's different about the Constitution compared to the Declaration of Independence? The Declaration and the Constitution are two completely different documents. To where the Constitution has 7 articles and a preamble that describe the way government is structured and how it should operate. It also had 10 amendments and spells out our rights, while the Declaration of Independence is where we gained freedom from Great Britain. The Declaration of Independence remains one of the unamended statement of our national ideals, since the Constitution has been amended 27 different times. The Declaration is the reason why we celebrate on July 4th for the fireworks. The fireworks aren't just for a show, they're more for the gunfire and explosions, and to remember all the lost soldiers during this war. Jefferson and Adams both died on July 4th, 1826, on the 50th anniversary of the Declaration. For my articles that I chose, for the first one, I found this source to be very helpful for unknown facts that I couldn't find anywhere else, not even in our history book. The second article that I chose was a JSTOR article. This article went into great depth on the Declaration of Independence, and that is why I overall chose it. For my third article, I chose this because it has all the differences of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence and describes that very well. For my fourth article, I chose this article because it didn't show much bias rather than just stated facts and key dates on the Declaration of Independence. These four I chose because the first one talks about the pursuit of happiness and how I can tie it into my presentation. For my second one, I chose a JSTOR article, and this article had different perspectives than what most other articles had on the Declaration of Independence. My next article, this went into great detail about the taxing of the colonists and why they were so angry, and some of their thoughts that journalists had put into this article. And for my last article, it is a JSTOR, and it talked about the signing of the document and who was all there to sign.